Hello everyone, I'm Dan the Physics Man here with a Let's Play introduction to KSP, quite possibly one of the most randomly awesome video games ever. So, a lot of people are very familiar with KSP, but a lot of people aren't, so I'm going to try and cover everything in this just introductory video, just talking about just a few key missions and talking about what I'm eventually going to put on this channel. So, first off, you have, we'll get right into the meat of it, talking about what this is. I've already pre-built the ship. What this is basically you are NASA. You collect money, collect science, and you build awesome stuff. I could go a lot more into it, but why would I spoil the fun? I'm also playing career mode because I don't believe in starting with all the stuff, because who does that? So one of the things you have to manage is you have to manage your resources coming about from getting all this done. I mean, I'm kind of all over the place. So, uh-oh. And this is not looking very good because we have some inclement wobble for no reason. But, what? But yeah, so get into this game. Your goal is to launch, do cool stuff, and see the world, and nay, the universe. So I think I loaded up a faulty one because this might not work. We might have to bail out. But I'm never one to shrink from a challenge. So this is part of our our money making mission, where we have a couple. Wait, we do not. Oh no. Well, this we're gonna see this anyway because I actually think this one's faulty. Let's just figure this out. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. Okay. Uh. Bail out. Bail out. We're sorry. Oh no. Oh, this is a great start. Oh. Well. Uh. This is a classic Kerbal space program. So yeah, so I guess I'll talk about as I'm flying around here. So down here we have our research and development. Over here we have our vehicle construction. Over here we have our tracking station, and just talking about, so the research is what allows us to get new and wonderful parts for our wonderful space program. This is where the astronauts live and work. We're flying over it now. This is the administration building where you can do all sorts of wonderful things like make strategies that will convert your three main resources in career mode, which are money, research, and reputation. Where reputation determines the difficulty and rewards for your missions, money lets you buy parts, and science determines what parts you have access to. So over here is a space plane hangar. We don't worry about that too much. Here's mission control, where you can select your contracts to win money and research and rewards, and also keep track of all your achievements. And then that over there is the tracking station, which you would select in order to see where any of your deployed ships are. This actually worked out quite nicely, so we're going to come in here and hopefully not die, because we are coming in a little, okay, just coming in. We're going to think about this. Poor Jeb, he's like, oh, why'd you have to do this to me? But he survived, thanks to our quick reaction times. Mostly because these astronauts ain't cheap. So we're just going to back up a little bit. Now really get into, oh boy, ah! Sorry, Jeb, you okay? Jeb? Oh, he's fine. He survived. He's good. Yeah, so now we will, can he actually, you know what? It really wasn't. Can he actually transmit this? No, of course not. Yep, he'll just keep this. We're just going to have a hilarious time planting this flag right here. The one time where we meant to go into talking about all this stuff, and then, so what, oops. So what's this going to be? Alright, we're going to call this site first fail. No one died, thank goodness. No, he's all happy. No. Ooh, geez. Slippery fingers. Stay. A successful test. Oh, you saw it here. Ah, boy. But yeah, that's basically the gist of what Kerbal Space Program is all about. You are NASA. You're building this stuff, and you're having a good time doing it because, oh, geez, Jeb, you okay? He's okay. He's okay. And yeah, so recover the vessel, which is him. We actually got some science out of that, so that's kind of hilarious. Wait, is this a flag? No, we're gonna leave the flag there. No, no, no. First fail. Yeah, look at that. We made it. We went from here to here. We made it back to R&D. Jeb was just saying hi to the scientists constructing all this stuff. Yeah, so we're talking about where we are. So in the beginning, you start out with these basic rockets. You slap them together. You can have a good time and make sure to bail out and parachute because hilariously, you unlock a parachute, but when you get to that height with this ridiculously powerful booster, considering its size, you'll need it. And then moving along, as long as you take with you, what is it? You have Engineering 101. As long as you take this thermometer and your eyes with you, you can start to observe things with the science. So science is what this stuff costs to build. I only have 14 science. I got 390K. I just dumped 10K on the ground out there, but that's fine. So, yeah. So talking about what the plan's going to be, we'll go to the tracking station. So as you can see, we got nothing in orbit. We've just barely started this wonderful game, which, by the way, for those of you who are new to this, encompasses the entire fucking solar system, all the way out to their variant of Pluto, which, whether or not you believe it's a planet or not, they do expertly display that it is on an inclined plane way, way out there. We can zoom in on it too. Look like, oh man, look at this thing. Which is a beautiful place. This is actually the end goal, by the way. This ambitious end goal. Get a station all the way out here. But so to do that, talk about what we're going to do. So generally in this game, until some expansion comes out, all the science you need to get all the rocket technology exists in this quadrant, which is the moon and the other moon, because this planet has two moons because it's cool like that. And we're going to be focusing on getting the science from this as soon as we unlock a couple of abilities, which I'll talk about. And then from there, it's actually not too much of an issue to get out to Duna or to Eve, which are this universe's version of Mars and Venus. Because there are issues that come from not having all the abilities, which now I'll go into. So these buildings, never forget, can be upgraded. So one of the upgrades, as you see, when I upgrade this, I can see patched conics becomes visible, which is the variation of orbital mechanics that this game uses, which is actually awesome. So I'm going to go off on a little bit of a physics tangent. I'll stay short, I'll stay curt, but essentially patched conics is your orbits all work fine. This uses the two-body approximation, and they say it is patched because normally, even when you're on the surface of the Earth, you would still feel like the moon's influence on you, or in this case, the other moon's influence on you. But in this game, because that would take up way too much crazy data and also might not really matter too much, it uses the patched conics approximation where as soon as you get out to a certain point, someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, you enter the other orbiting body's sphere of influence. And I think the number is within 1%. Like, say, if you feel more than 1% of the force of a body versus the other, then that body becomes your new frame of reference. And so all your orbital mechanics are based on that. And right, and so technically everything is actually within a three-body simulation because everything is in orbit of the sun when you're here. Sorry for zooming out so much. But for all intents and purposes, it is a two-body, because another thing that's limiting about Kerbal Space Program, which you would think it would be a limit, but in practice, I mean, I think I went for a playthrough where I got away off the Duna, and that took like 2 months of having an awesome time, just trying to get as much money as possible, because I didn't think it would actually be so cheap to get the Duna. It was actually way cheaper. I built up way too much money. I had like $1 billion or something. I was like, definitely didn't need that. But so when you build all that up, you'll find, or rather, when I build it all up, you'll see that it's actually quite achievable. So I'll talk about, right, so the abilities. So one of the other abilities, along with the patched conics, I just clicked on that again, whoops. One of the abilities along with patched conics, which would show you, like when you're it shows you when you're leaving one sphere of influence and entering another. Where when I get to the moon later on, I will demonstrate how, like, where that actually kicks in, which is actually somewhat awesome. So, getting more into, so the second thing that is possible is this thing called flight planning, which is the third upgrade available from the tracking station, which basically lets you say, you know what, I want to get into this orbit, so you move a couple dials and switches, and suddenly it gets you to that orbit. Assuming you have to follow along, you have to press ignition, but that more closely models what I think is more of NASA's capabilities. Because when I think optimistically about what this game is trying to model, I think, it would be awesome to be the astronaut flying the thing, but I also know there's like around like 500 or so PhDs that are all like, hey, yeah, this is your path, you're not going to die, we promise. And when it got a seal of approval like that, I'm super down to be an astronaut. But anyway, we're getting away from ourselves because this is a game that I feel like you can just start talking about everything in this game because everything comes into it. So, yeah, okay, we're gonna actually get to flying because we had issues. So clearly this is not the one. What is wrong with this thing? Apparently nothing. Yeah, I got no reason. I don't know why this thing just came apart like that. That was awkward. Yes, we'll save over it. And we'll choose our crew. Jebediah is very happy to be alive, but we're actually going to let him stay home and have Valentina do it, because I think Jebediah's had enough trauma for this time. He had to bail out and almost died. So, yeah, we'll have him. He's on leave now. And then we'll check our contract. So this is, when you go to mission control and pick a contract, it'll display itself over here when you're thinking about what you want to do. So the wonderful Chazdor and Podorf want to both go in an orbit around Kermit, so we're going to give them what they want. Chazdor and Podorf. They're going to have a good time with Valentina. Well, not really, because they'll be down here, she'll be up here driving. So we're going to get into this. I'll just briefly discuss. I do apologize for the meandering nature of my videos. I am quite scatterbrained. Most of us physicists are. So before we start, I'll just talk about what this is. What is this? So this blue tells you how far this rocket, this particular stage, will take you. This is a stage: first stage, second stage, first stage, zero-off stage. And when you press the space bar, everything in that stage will engage, if you want to play it that way. It is true that when I'm on the launch pad, I can right-click and specifically turn on each booster. But not only am I not at the, I don't have the inhumanly fast capability to press them all at the same time as to not cause any kind of lack of symmetry. This is a nice easy button, like they would actually use, I think. So I'm pretty sure, maybe not actually, but there is some NASA dude who presses his space bar to take this thing off. And so, yeah. And this is a very simple orbiting craft, all made from stock parts. I'm just trying to find the right angle, but screw it. Where we have our solid boosters below, getting us up into orbit. We have our liquid fuel engine that will kick in once we leave the atmosphere, well, because we're choosing to. And then we have this decoupler, which will separate this from the rest of the ship. And finally, we have a of importance. I don't think I can select it, but we have a heat shield, which is, yeah, it's in there, which will protect us as we make our descent. And we have a couple science tools just in case we land in a new area, which is somewhat unlikely. Oh, whoops, that is not what I wanted to do. But yeah, so that will be in case we enter a new area. We'll worry about that later. And then this is just a standard crew capsule that weighs a ton. And then the command pod is actually lighter. Well, that makes sense. There's less people. But yeah. And so in the early game, you can actually use, assuming you're not going to the moon yet, you're just orbiting, the command pod itself is actually quite heat resistant. So you don't need to have all these bells and whistles like a heat shield or decoupler or anything like that. You can just have this thing fly in backwards and it'll be fine. So I think its skin is actually quite resistant. You can see, yeah, it's got a, was it, they don't, oh yeah, 2200K. She's staring me around the face, which is awesome. Very protective. Okay, how do we, okay, I'm having problems. But yeah, so enough about that. Oh yeah, and then this is comms. If you don't have comms, you can't transmit science, by the way. So that's important if you think you're gonna die, or you think you're gonna get more interesting science on the way. You might want to transmit it. You get less science that way, as opposed to bringing a sample back, as the lunar astronauts will attest that it was much more valuable to have them bring moon rocks back than send pictures of the moon rocks. So this game models that actually quite nicely. So without further ado, we'll go down to it. I do apologize for the delay, but I feel like I had a lot to talk about, and I wanted to include plenty of information for those of us who have not yet played this wonderful game, which makes me cry tears of joy and tears of sadness whenever people don't make it back. Shit, stage easy. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. No, just so I don't mess this up, I will do that. Okay. And here we go. Gonna take these guys on a simple. We're moving. Okay, that's another thing. We're actually very low in the science tech tree, so we don't have a lot of stability equipment besides just the pilot's skill. So this stability is coming from Valentina herself. She's got 1 star because all she's done is gone around Kerbal, which I think is awesome, but I mean, I don't know what the hell you need. I've actually have not received 5 stars yet, so I don't know what she has to do. But anyway, so we have our tourists here, having a good time. They haven't done jack, but they're apparently super rich. So we're going to go ahead and start this. Alright, T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, main engine start. And we have liftoff of the Space Taxi 1.1. Just paying the rent and then some on this space program. Things look good. We're moving into getting up into the middle atmosphere. Things are getting a little aerodynamic there. We see, like, we broke the speed of sound a while ago, actually, or now we just did. And it's getting a little hot, getting a little toasty as we get up into the upper atmosphere. Feeling the heat. And separate. That's going to fall back down into the ocean. We don't have to worry about it. We are definitely not on SpaceX's level of tech at the moment, so that's just going to crash in the ocean and do that. So as you can see, that's all it takes to leave. Now we need to get in orbit. So we don't do anything, we'll just fall right back down. So I'm moving the rocket just slightly so that it's horizontal, and then we're going to start our main burn. Now this is very basic and extremely inefficient, but we lack stability equipment, so this thing would probably flip the heck over. So I'm just going to check real quick. Yeah, so we're going to do this as basically and nonchalantly as possible because I want to make sure we get in orbit and we don't have to have another sad trip back home. So we'll time work, get up to apoapsis, which is the high point in an orbit, which I think is actually, yeah, there's aphelion and perihelion for like the sun and stuff. You would never say apoapsis unless like you were, I'm not saying that right. Yeah, apoapsis, I'm saying that right. But anyway, you would never say that unless you're like NASA. So we'll just make a quick check. Mr. Gudu, want to collect any science? 0.5, might as well. And we'll, oops, that's not on. Okay, now it's on. So now we're burning into orbit. Not the gum. Copyright, no thanks. But we are burning into this other business. Just making sure we're definitely not entering a new area. I'm just doing this so that you guys see how to do it. And yeah, somewhere way below there is that stage that we just dropped off. It's still going, which is actually hilarious. Like 10, 20 kilometers away. So it'll fall into the atmosphere quite nicely. And then we'll go ahead and check and see. Our orbital path is actually getting very well. Okay, yeah, it's coming around. So we'll actually, whoop, okay, that. All right, so we have very fine control. So the atmosphere of this world of Kerbal ends at 70,000. So we don't even need to make a pass. Hilariously, we can actually, the second we're there, contract complete. Yep, they got to Kerbal. They got to orbit Kerbal. And now we got to take them back. But yeah, so one of the things that we'll eventually do is, like, this is just like the first relatively complex mission you can do, because involves stages. You got to worry about fuel a little bit. We only really have that. We don't really have too much at this time. And one of the things we're going to try and do is we're going to try and land on the sun-facing side just so we can see what we're doing. But knowing just how this seems to work, so someone asked me this one time, and I realized that it was not immediately obvious. So, pop quiz: how do you how do you back up in space if your rocket is pointing in one direction? Well, think about it. Think about it. You just turn and fire the other way. It's but you can't blame my nephew. He's adorable. He was like, how do they do that? There's no brakes in there and stuff. And I'm like, oh, someone teaches kids some physics. Of course, he's in middle school, so I guess they're not doing that stuff yet. So yeah, the second that we do that, you notice that the camera kind of shifted because we just left orbit. Yeah, because we completed the contract, so we need not worry. So we're gonna plop 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 plop. We're gonna try and wait. Did we just run out of juice? And we ran out of juice. Oxidizer deprived. Flame out. Okay, whoops. Well, at least we're landing on the sun-facing side. So now we'll go ahead and engage our final stage, where decouple that. We'll reset that. Maybe we can get more than 0.5 science. Apparently 0.5 science is all we can get from this. Okay. That's fine. So we will go ahead, set our retrograde to the orbit, and then we'll switch it to the surface later on, because the surface will determine the orientation of the air mass under us, where our orbit would just our own orientation relative to the planet. So this one's really more important if you're trying not to burn up in re-entry. And we actually gave ourselves a semi-elliptical. It's not that elliptical, actually. It's not that bad. It could have been a lot worse as we come in here. So this is assuming no air resistance. All the orbital paths don't include air resistance because that put a lot of strain. And also, we don't have like 50 PhDs to tell us exactly where we would land. It's just one computer. So it would actually be maybe, you can think of it as like being like anywhere from 10% closer to like 25% closer, depending on your angle of inclination, your speed. And yeah, so our other stage is gonna go up there. At this stage in the game, we're actually quite efficient with our rockets and stuff, where all of our rockets crash back down. But I will say that in real life, it is somewhat concerning because as we get to the moon, you'll see that there is a second stage that actually stays in orbit and contributes to the growing problem of space junk. Didn't really think it was a problem back then. The Apollo missions were happening, but it kind of is now. So reuse and recycle. Have your rockets either land like Elon Musk SpaceX guys do, or just let it burn up in the atmosphere and we'll all just chill because there's no way that it's dense enough to actually breathe it in or anything like that. Oh yeah, so while we're up here, falling at around 1,400 meters per second, we experience weightlessness. I don't dare do this for too long because it's been a while since I practiced my RCS thrusting. But let's come out here. We've been above space before. And I don't dare let go because I don't know if I can make it back. So you can actually go on spacewalks free of a tether, which you would never do in real life, but these are Kerbals and they're not exactly bright. I don't know how they get their clothes on or their helmet on. Or, okay, I guess they could probably... How they reach down to tie their shoes, that's going to be an issue. But, we'll get right back in because we do not want to be out there for too long. And so yeah, coming into here, we will, once we hit 70, we'll slowly start to really feel the effects of the atmosphere. And so one of the things I wanted to actually mention is that you only get these controls, prograde and retrograde, where your pilot will follow or go the opposite direction of the orbital path once she makes it around an orbit, or she makes it around the orbit the first time, which can be tough because you're basically using just the stick to navigate and not being brought back. Just on stability, if I move the stick like this, it moves it a little bit and then tries to stabilize your motion. If you turn stability off because you're crazy, just do it a little bit, then you just spin, making all the tourists hurl. So we're not going to do that. We're going to come in here, and you guys are going to bear witness to the so simple design of having the heat shield on the bottom, this crew cabin, which isn't exactly too tough. We're not going to keep tabs. We're going to keep tabs on this one. What I'm doing is I'm right-clicking the selected part and having it display its value on the side here, so I can just keep a close eye on it. The physics of the heat shield is actually surprisingly close to what I think would be considered correct, where this heat shield, the metal on the surface here is meant to ablate, which means to heat up and fall off the sides of it. That's why it looks like it's on fire, because it actually is. Much like a log burning and the log deteriorates in mass, so too does the ablator deteriorate in mass, which protects the rest of the ship from heat. So, and that process reduces the mass of the ablator. So when you're getting ready to use your parachutes, we have to arm those. Whoops. Yes, we actually have these all pre-altitude loaded, where I have 2 drogue parachutes for high atmospheric slowing, and then this Mark 16 primary parachute, which can really slow you down. The idea is to slow down to around 6 meters a second. So it's, I haven't calculated with me. I think it's 15 miles per hour, something like that. So you ever hit someone like you're ever at a red light and you get hit from behind, someone's like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry," and you're like, "Ah, what the hell?" That's kind of what the astronauts feel when they hit the ground, or at least these tourists will. They'll be like, but they got nice seats. So here we go. We already see the ablator starting to take some. Even if you can't see it, it is happening. And so it starts to warm up a little bit before you actually start to really, really see it. And then here we go. We're entering the atmosphere. Starting to ablate. The ablator is really getting to work now. So we're going to see, okay, so something doesn't like it. It's the hatch itself does not like it. So before that gets too hot, we're going to not have our tourists die and switch to, okay. Oh boy. Okay. That's exactly not what we wanted to do! Oh no, we lost a part. I don't know what it was. Probably the goo. Oh, no one's dead, so. Oh boy. Whew. Ah, I get Kerbals. It's like, why you guys gotta be. Let's check science. We totally lost the goo. The goo just fell the hell off. But no one died. So, again, small victories here. So we'll generally just. And that's how atmospheric reentry works. We actually had way too much ablator. We had like 90, 99, and we only got down 10 points. So we could actually reduce the mass on this considerably and still be safe. Because the issue is that this crew cabin cannot handle any kind of heat whatsoever. You saw it. The second that it made contact, it almost started to blow up, while this thing back here is like, whatever. It matters not to me. So, once we hit a right atmosphere and pressure, our things will deploy, slow down. Still falling pretty fast. That's, for those of you non-metrics, I think 180 is still like, we're falling at like 300 miles per hour or something. I'm fudging the hell out of that. But, it's our role as physicists to really just be here. So I'm actually gonna let me think for a moment. Meters per second is 2.5 divided by 3600. What the heck? Oh wow, it's actually right. It is. It is. I just entered it in. It's actually 300 and it's actually almost 400 miles per hour. So falling at 400 miles per hour. And so these are the parachutes that deploy, but it'll take a while before they actually reach their maximum. See, now we'll really start to slow down. These things will open up and do what they're gonna do. And if we're not slowing down fast enough, why are we still go? Oh, that's because this is orbit. We're orbiting at that speed because we're actually surface. Yeah, we're actually much. So I'll actually just fast forward this next part as we descend into the open ocean, which is something our Kerbals probably don't want to see, but And yeah, so we're going to hit the ground at around 15, 14 miles per hour. Or hit the ocean. So it is like, you ever back up and you knock over your like your friend or something, and they get back up, like, dude, what the hell? And he's like, sorry, dude. that's basically what they're in for right now. Yeah, so maybe they even might go for a swim after this. Let's see, now we're going to slow down to normal speed. Okay, we're coming down. When we get to around, now because I just did the calculation, we get to 6 meters, that should be around 13 feet, I think. This is just an order of magnitude thing, yeah, so. And here we go, nothing break. We're hitting the ocean. And we're fine. Can we flip? Oh no, we can't flip. Sweet. Oh yeah, we got all this wonderful stuff. None of that, like, point whatever science. So we made back the money that we lost initially. So I was kind of like, oh geez. And so come in here and we'll see. Oh, these guys want to go into orbit, huh? But they're only paying us $8 grand. That barely covers the cost of the ship. Y'all aren't even cool. Okay. So what do we have right now? So right now, oh yeah, we're almost ready to do this flyby, actually. We're not going to do it ourselves. No, we're going to send a scientist out. Satellite out. So we'll do that next time on Dan the Physics Man. Coming at you with the awesomeness that is Kerbal Space Program. I really could go on all day about it, but, we've already gone over 30. We've gone 35 minutes into this, so I think I'll wrap this up and catch y'all next time.